someone mentioned that last time, right? We went through this OWASP top 10 security concerns, and I think they did a pretty good overview of covering what these risks are. Now let's play with them. Let's do some of them to see how they're actually exploited. So the first one we look at is cross-site scripting. So it is a type of injection problem in which malicious scripts are injected into otherwise benign and trusted websites. Cross-site scripting attacks occur when an attacker uses a web application to send malicious code, generally in the form of a browser-side script, to a different end user. Flaws that allow these attacks to succeed are quite widespread and occur anywhere a web application uses input from a user in the output it generates without validating or encoding it. Awesome. What can we use cross-site scripting? How many of you have done JavaScript programming? So if you've done JavaScript, pretty much we can do anything. If we can inject some JavaScript into their browser, then what can we do? Lots of bad stuff, right? The end user's browser has no way to know that the script should not be trusted and will execute the script. Because it thinks it came from a trusted source, that malicious script can access any cookies, session tokens, or other sensitive information retained by your browser and used with that sites. They can even rewrite the contents of the HTML page. Now, it'll make more sense as we do it. So here's just a quick example to see, I don't expect us to be programmers in this class, but there's a very small snippet of JavaScript. So the first line, all it does is generates an alerts pop-up message. And that's essentially what hackers use to test to see if a page is susceptible to a cross-site scripting attack, because they'll just use something simple like that. And we have some other tools that we can use to decide if it's vulnerable, and then we can start trying to craft a special cross-site scripting message, or a script, I guess I should say, to actually exploit things. So, but what are cookies used for, and why would that be bad?
Use them to store data.
Yeah, session tokens. So if I can somehow inject JavaScript to grab their session tokens, what can I do with their session tokens? Log in, take over their session, right? So you can imagine that could be bad, like a banking website or any site that you care about your data, I guess. So those are kind of the types of scripts that we're talking about. So in the end, how do we prevent that? We inspect and validate our input. A lot of times the way we validate is maybe through the use of regular expressions. Let's make sure that they're not typing in a username field. Let's make sure they're not typing in these HTML characters, the less than, the greater than sign. Let's make sure they're not typing in parentheses. I don't know if anyone has a parenthesis in their name. So stuff like that. We could do regular expressions. How many of you have used regular expressions? Do they do it in any of the programming classes? So I just say the word regular expressions. I expect you guys to know it, but what it is a regular expression is a way in which we can match a string against a particular pattern. So and it has its own little language there. We can say, oh, does it have 3 digits? Does it have, characters A through Z in it? Stuff like that. So I guess it's beyond the scope of this class, but we do look at it in what class did I look at it in my class? 3110, we looked at regular expressions. Anyway, it has problems though. We can't program for every known pattern. And we also decided programmers are lazy and we can't test for, to ship in time or deploy in time, it might be difficult to program for every known input. So still has problems. So here's just some examples if I was coding in, I think this is PHP functions. So strip tags is a function, just as an example. Strip tags is a PHP function that will go pull out HTML characters from a string and take them out of there before you process it, before you do whatever. UTF-8 decode. You can decode Unicode characters prior to filtering, help you detect attacks that the attacker has obfuscated with Unicode encoding. What's Unicode encoding? Has anyone used that before? I know you've seen it. So instead of a less than sign,
At, like, it's like at.
it's like ampersand LT maybe, or you can even obfuscate it with, I think like some sort of hexadecimal characters. I don't remember how to do it, but HTML special characters will turn ampersand greater than less than into their HTML equivalents, and then our browser won't execute them. So just, you don't need to particularly memorize those, but there are, depending on the programming language you're using, there are ways of validating your input. There's another one. All right, exactly. So let's do some examples. Now, open up your browser and type in Gruyere, Google. Gruyere. Gruyere. Has anyone had that kind of cheese before?
Yes.
Is it any good?
Gruyere.
Is it good? Gruyere. Is that, I say it wrong? Gruyere. Is it good?
It's good until your dad leaves it on the car dashboard for a day or two.
Oh.
That's really
That's nasty.
Okay, so it's this top one. How do you say it? Gruyere?
If it's, it was really sad.
My son is in France right now, and he says he likes their goat cheese. He says a lot of cheese is really stinky and nasty, but goat cheese is okay.
This is one of those.
Okay. So Google Gruyere. Gruyere sounds easier for me to say, but Gruyere. Whatever. So in order for us to demonstrate some of these cross-site scripting attacks, obviously we need a web server set up. We need a web application written that is susceptible to cross-site scripting. And there's a couple different ways I could have shown you this, but this one's pretty easy because they already have the environment set up and they have basically walkthroughs that show you how to do everything. So this is actually what we're going to do on our assignment, but I'm going to get you started. So you can read about it. I'm just going to hit continue. And over here on the right-hand side, we have a table of contents that shows us a lot of the cross-site scripting attacks we can do. And they have some other ones, cross-site request forgery, which isn't all that common anymore. We have some elevation of privilege examples we can do. If ever you mess up, you can come back to this page and reset it. It says down there how you can reset it, like you use that link. So what I would do is I would have two tabs open. I'd click on this Google Gruyere AppSpot Start, and I just hit Control when I click that and make sure I opened it in a new tab. So let's go look at that. This is the website that they have for us. Agree and start, yes. Now it doesn't, pretty contained here. I'm sure Google's locking us down. This is the website that they've set up that has this susceptible to cross-site scripting attacks and some other things. So, but what it is, you can browse around and see what it consists of. Whatever we've got. Anyway, it'll walk you through. Go to all snippets here. You can click on the home page. You can click on sign in. You can click on sign up. Whatever. Okay, so basically it's just a very simple website. It's several years old, but it still demonstrates these ideas pretty good. So let me show you how to do maybe the first cross-site scripting attack. First thing we need to do is sign up for a new account. Now, obviously this is a very stupid environment. I would not use any credentials that you currently use anywhere else. I just make them up. So Joe and Joe, that sounds good to me. Awesome.
So now I got lost and can't find where you found this.
So if you go back to Google Gruyere,
Oh, it's right
it's
there.
right there at the top. appspot.com/start.
Perfect.
Don't say. Okay. So all I did is I created a user and I signed in as Joe. And once again, we're looking for cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. We're looking for where it asks me to input data. Now, I didn't test the login form. I know the login form has some other issues. It's possible, well, it's possible that there could be a cross-site scripting. I don't remember. But I do know one place where we can input, let's go here to new snippet. So these are the snippets down here. So I'm going to create a new snippet. All right, so did you log in?
Yeah, I got it.
So click on new snippet at the top. Add a new snippet. So you see websites like this all the time. All right. So, add your fill out this box, and now we support some limited HTML. All right. So, maybe I'd say, oh, I like candy or whatever it is. But then I might say, all right, script, alert, whatever. Let's see if that does it. Because I'm putting, it says it supports HTML stuff. So let's see if we can get that alert to fire. That means it is susceptible to a cross-site scripting attack. And I hit submit. Oh, it didn't do it on that one. So let's try. I'm gonna try it one more time. I've done it wrong. Alert. In fact, I might have to read the instructions. I'm not doing it right. Okay. I think it was this one. That's what we did. That's what I did. Maybe I didn't. Oh, put it in a P tag. Oh, I see. Okay. Or get it done. Okay, let's just do that.
Put the script tag in the tag.
So this one is my HTML element on mouse over. I'm going to do this JavaScript, and so I basically have an A tag. Let's try that one. I'll go back and show that. Okay, so every time my mouse goes over, it does that. So let me go back and show you that. And there's a lot of different ways of doing it. A P tag, should I try a P tag? P script. Script. Yeah, I don't know where they close it. Let's see if that's how they do it. Oh, it just did that. Okay. No, that didn't work. So, but a malicious user would try all these various combinations until they got it to succeed. So the one that I showed was this one. So that's the one I copied in. So an A tag, they have this, they've embed. Oh, I didn't have to do script tags again. Maybe that was my other issue on the last one. I don't have to do script tags, just do alert. So, example of cross-site scripting. Okay, so while you're trying that, here's what I want you to do this week. Using that website, it has a tutorial that will walk you through a variety of web attacks and exploits. You don't need to implement any fixes, but you should read through all of it. The exploits are all pretty much given to you. You may have to think a little on some, but others are just cut and paste. So as I went down here, like let's say the first one I want you to do is a file upload cross-site scripting. So let me go back. So let's try the file upload cross-site scripting attack. It says, can you upload a file that allows you to execute arbitrary script on the Gruyere website? And it tells you how to do it. If you get stuck, fine, copy and paste what they have, but I would read through what they say. Oh, not reflected, sorry. Well, I guess that was all they had on file upload. So here's our hint. You can upload HTML files, and HTML files can contain script. So if I look back, was it here? I can upload a file. So what would you try without even looking at the hint? what would you put in that file to try to see if you can get a cross-site script attack to work? Yeah, just try just a basic alert message and see if it'll work. So you might have to, and then if you get stuck, oh. So, tells you how to do it. So pretty much this is a walkthrough where all the answers are given to you, but that's the assignment that we are working on. So I want you to do these: reflected cross-site scripting, stored cross-site scripting. Do we still have that one? Yeah. We'll try the cross-site request forgery. I don't know if it'll work with our browsers now, but we'll check. And there's a couple other ones that aren't necessarily cross-site scripting, but they're web attacks nonetheless that would be interesting to play with. So that's what we're working on today. Any questions? And you'll just take kind of what I want you to do is take a screenshot of each one, maybe. Paste the lines of code that you used for the exploit as well as the print screen or some of the proof that the exploit worked. Just keep track of it on a single document, and then you can upload that to Canvas when you're done.
So, which one did you say might not work?
The cross-site request forgery. I haven't done that one yet, so it could be that our browsers might. We'll see. We'll see if our browsers deal with us.
Oh, could that be why some of these aren't working? Is because I know Chrome does some stuff to
Yeah.
HTML.
Okay.
You use IE or
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Try it on your VM with Internet Explorer or Edge or whatever. And when you leave Gruyere, you have to start. I mean, it doesn't save anything. If you come back an hour later, you have to start a new session.